Hey Islanders, how's it all going? As always, I'm Will, and welcome to another episode of Islander Robotics, where today is going to be a really fun one. I really just want to show all of you the little screen behind me because I'm just going to hit enter, and it's going to hit enter, and it's going to show all of you something. This is what the output text of Python looks without Colorama. Yes, we are finally going to be working with Colorama. I know, I've been talking about it for weeks. Now, what does Colorama do? Well, notice how bland and boring that output text is. When I hit enter again, it turns Hello Islanders into red and blue. Well, more specifically, hello is in red and Islanders is in blue. So that's what we're going to be working on today. We're going to be using this as a nice little gist to our output. So sit back, relax with your favorite snack, and let's get started, shall we? So this is the code that we were able to add on to last week's video. But I really want to ask, am I the only one who I have to listen to music in order to get into that coding mood? But the module that we're going to actually talk about that allows for all the magic to actually happen for today's code really is the Colorama module. And I really just want to say this video is not a full tutorial on Colorama. Colorama is a really big module. I mean, that's why we're saying from Colorama import back and forth. There's a lot more modules within the Colorama module besides back and forth. Those are really the ones that we're going to be talking about in today's video, as well as the stuff that we're talking about in today's video. There's more than one successful way to implement it. It's just my own interpretation, and that's honestly the great thing about coding is that there's more than one way to solve a problem. And with that being said, what we're actually going to talk about is the next part of the code that we changed, which was we added this self.number of char on line 12. All right, you don't really have to worry about. You have to worry about that more on in the next function that we created for specifically for this video. All right, and that the function I keep talking about nonstop is this size function, and really this is where the Colorama is going to be playing a factor. Reason being is because we're going to be using the for and the back. And what the for represents is the character color, right? So notice how this character is green right now. That's what the for represents. And then background, notice how the background of that character is black. That's what that back stands for, all right? Now, when you come over to the black back.reset, what we're saying is we want to reset the color. There's multiple ways to actually reset this. I just want to point this out, but this is the way that I decided to actually use this reset. All right, and really you'll get to see why I decided to do this, but resetting this background so that the background you can actually see what's going on, you can actually read the text, and I just really want to use this so that the user knows how many characters left. So I said you have X amount of characters left, and what this character left is actually right here. So character left is the self.total, and total really is really a predefined variable that the user defines, or the software actually has a default value of 500. And then number of characters. Number of characters is actually the one that we initialize in the class initializer or the class constructor. And what it's set equal to, because if you remember correctly, it was set to 0. We're actually setting it equal to this number. Well, not technically. We're setting it equal that number. So right on line 42, we're saying self.number of character is plus equals number. And then we're not going to really stop there on using the self.number of char. We also want to use it as a percentage. So how I decided to actually use this logic, because it's going to be playing a factor in the logic, is I want to be able to tell what percentage of how much, like upside down gas can, essentially. We have 100% full. Essentially, I want to start at empty and then want to know when I hit that 100, all right? And that's how I do it with this, where I'm saying percent full equals the number of characters divided by that total that I was talking about. And really, this percent full is really our logic variable, and we're going to be using it to essentially keep track of it this way. So percent full, we want it, if it's greater than or equal to 1, we want to tell the creator, hey, sorry, you've reached a creator limit, and we're going to return false. Don't really worry about this false right now. It's going to come into a huge factor later on, all right? And that's when we start getting into the different colors that I decided to use for the percentages. So 0, 0, 0, 0 is just because if I did just 0, it wouldn't, I mean, if I did just 0 and we have all these floats, it wouldn't, the logic wouldn't make sense. So that's why I did 0, 0.0. And for this, we're picking green. All right, so for green, so the characters are going to be completely green. We're going to say back.green. Characters are going to be completely, well, the background is going to be completely green. Now, I also want to say real quick, I should have mentioned it up here. Because I do back.reset, the characters is going to be whatever character we defined here. All right, it's not going to change back. It's only the background changes back to the default. And then for the 25, when we have hit 25% or greater in, when we fill 25% or greater, we're going to change it to magenta. I want to do orange, but orange isn't an option for the Colorama. I mean, if you know what colors, I mean, go ahead and leave it down in the comment section down below on what other colors you think I should do. I think you can do red, yellow, green, magenta, cyanide, or I'm not pronouncing that right, white, a whole boatload of different other, well, a few other different colors. Go check out the documentation and then leave a comment down below on what you think this color should actually be. But that's what the 25% color is. And then for 50, I decided to do yellow, and then 75% or greater is going to be red. All right, and then really, you don't really, how I decide, the reason why I have this true, return true is, and really this return false, is going to be playing a factor in the insert function, which is what we're going to be talking about next. All right, so the last function we actually made changes to was actually the insert function, and we didn't really make too many changes. I mean, really the big things that we did change was on line 65 to line 68, and really the stuff that happens here is what we were talking about in last week's video, where we used an exception handling in Python. And essentially what we're doing is we're using the try method right here, and we're saying self.total equals the int of input, and we're asking the user, hey, do you have a specific character limit you want to enter? And if they just hit any character and it causes that accept error function to happen, we're just going to say self.total equals 500. All right, so if the user decides to enter something, self.total is going to become that. If the user decides to enter any character, it's going to equal 500. All right, and the next thing we're going to actually talk about is, I just did this whole thing right here. It's really the same. So from line 76 to line 80, well, line 76 to line 79 is just me telling the user, hey, this is what's going on. You're going to be seeing a bar. It represents the percentage of how many, it represents the percentage of how many characters you have left to enter. And then what's going on here is the same thing as what's going on in the size. It's actually copy and paste of line 59. All right, so really not too much interesting stuff's going on right there, but the more interesting stuff is actually coming on right here. So we actually made a new variable called keyword. And what we're setting keyword equal to is this input of what we'd like the keyword to be. Enter the keyword. This input, I mean, used to be right here, all right, where keyword is in this append of this dictionary. So what we decided to do is we took this input and we split it up into two parts. It's not really memory efficient, but it allows us to do what we need to get done for this new size function that we defined, where we had to take this keyword, we took it out, and then instead of having this, we're just appending keyword to this list inside this dictionary. I went over this stuff a couple videos ago, so I'm not really going to go too far in depth. Go ahead, there should be a link to it down in the description bar down below to this specific video, but that's really what's going on here. And this, the reason why we need this keyword is actually on line 106, where we're saying keep going. So if you remember correctly, keep going is actually how this while loop is able to continue on. So keep going, we want to keep track of keep going, because when keep going is false, that means we want to get out of this while loop. So that's why that's why we had those false and those true statements in the size. So we want keep going to equal the self.size, and we're going to pass the length. That's why we need this keyword up here. And that's that's really how we're able to break out of the function. And this clear line we talked about in last week's video, but it's just something, my preference, as well as I do give the user the ability to say yes or no on whether or not they want to clear the screen. And really that's all the changes we made, which is really how we're able to, let me switch over to the terminal, do this, Python 3 main.py, and then let's just say 1 tube, let's say yes, let's just do 10, alright, enter. So notice right here, so all this huge bar actually isn't a bar. It's kind of like, so you notice how I said in over here, right here, well actually this is this line right here. So for.green, I want the characters to be green, and I want the background to be green, which gives us this illusion of how we have it right here. And then how these characters are this color is because I resetted the background, but I didn't reset the foreground, which is the character color. And then after that, because I didn't do the reset, I didn't reset everything else underneath it until we call a different Colorama color actually causes this. All right. So what we're going to actually do is what keyword would we like to enter. Let's say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait, no. Let's do 3 actually. 12. Nope, I'm not done. Yes. It's going to now go to magenta. Go ahead and leave it down in the like I said, leave it down in the comment section down below what color you actually think this should be. Go ahead and check out the Python documentations, but we're just going to continue on with the other ones. Let's just do 2, 12. Yes. 12. Yes. Now turn to yellow. Yes, and now it's red, and then when I do and notice, sorry creator, you have reached your character limit. Alright, so one last thing before I sign off, and I just want to talk about this init method. What this init method does for Colorama is it resets all of the color values to the original value. So whatever your system's default value is, that's what it's going to do. We're not going to really go over it that far in depth. You're not going to see the results of what this does until next week's code. But just remember, it's just literally really 2 lines of code you have to add. Init auto reset equals true, just like right here, and then init right here. As well as you have to remember, this init is outside of this while loop too, because once we get out of this while loop, we want to reset those values. All right. So as always, to those islanders that have reached it to this point in today's video, you're all truly awesome. Thank you so much for subscribing. And for those islanders that have not hit that subscription button, please do consider becoming part of the Islanders community. Not only so that we can hit our next goal of 1,000 subscribers, as well as so you can learn more about robotics through programming, because that's really the basics of this channel. And for those islanders that really want to help support this channel, as well as for those islanders that really enjoyed today's video, please do consider hitting that like button. It really does help grow this channel, as well as it helps let me know how much you are all enjoying the content. As always, the code for today's video is down in the description bar. And really, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave it down in the comment section down below. As always, happy coding, and I'll see you all next week. Bye!